Shawn comes out on April 7th, 1997, and does a 15-minute promo, which Meltzer called a pretty much shoot interview. He says it was easily the best segment on either show, but it got murdered in the ratings. And he said Shawn did a tremendous job getting himself over as a babyface. He says that he and Bret loathe each other both in wrestling and in real life. He said Bret didn't just turn a bad guy, Bret was always a bad guy, and that he used his parents, his sister, and his kids to get on TV so he could make money. He said if Bret Hart could make a buck, he'd sell his mother. He said 6 years ago when he got the IC title and Bret got the WWF belt, he was happy playing second fiddle to Bret, but when it was Bret's turn to play second fiddle, he kicked and scratched every inch of the way. He said Bret took time off because he thought the WWF and Michaels would collapse while he was gone, but instead they did the best business they'd done in 6 years, and asked McMahon if that was true or not, and McMahon agreed. And Meltzer says, reality break, folks. It goes without saying that in the ring, Michaels did a super job in 1996, and he was my pick as Wrestler of the Year. But let's not rewrite history to say Shawn's reign was Hogan-like from a business standpoint, because nothing could be further from the truth. TV ratings collapsed in June of 96 on Shawn's watch, not Bret's, reached all-time lows for the rest of the year. But the buy rates fell through his reign, and it was during Shawn's reign for the first time in a decade that the WWF in both pay-per-view and TV ratings fell to the number 2 company in the U.S. And when it came to the house shows, while the WWF had a strong year in 96, its best months were in February and March. And who was the champion then? So I do like that we're at least having a conversation and we're blurring the lines. I enjoy that. I know that you said maybe Meltzer did, maybe he didn't. Where did you land on?
Didn't he just say this was the greatest promo ever? Well, he said the other one was too inside and not good.
Well, yes.
Yeah, exactly. At both sides of his mouth, he speaks, and out of both sides comes lies and just shit made up. But anyway.
Shawn would go on to say, Michael said that Bret used a rival organization to stab the WWF, who made him, in the back, into upping the money he could get. He then said that Bret couldn't separate wrestling from real life, that he's obsessed with the limelight and the title, and that it used to bother him when fans cheered Bret, but now he realizes fans can cheer who they want. He said all the superheroes and role models couldn't live up to it, and he isn't claiming to be a role model. He's only claiming that if you pay to see him wrestle, he'll work harder to give you a good show and harder than anyone else. Ton of inside baseball, but acknowledging where business was and all that in a promo. Do you think that belongs on television? Just your opinion?
No, I don't. I really don't. I don't think that Tom Brady's going to get on and cut a promo about how
NBC
many more viewers there are when he throws a football.
Correct.
Tiger Woods isn't going to get on and talk about when he swings a golf club, how many more people tune in.
Right.
I don't think that the general public cares about that. We got obsessed with oh, hey, bro, it's a shoot. You know, bro, you got to tell him. I don't think that anyone that watches television and has a favorite television show that you watch every week.
Right.
I don't think that anybody can tell you what their numbers are, for the most part, what their ratings are each and every week. The only time the ratings come into play to the average viewer is when their favorite television show gets canceled. And they wonder what happened.
Right.
Well, hey, there weren't enough people that watched it.
Yeah.
And I think that there are times that the Monday Night Wars made people obsessed with the ratings and who won and what have you, and it became a part of a storyline. But it is a storyline that I don't think that the general public, that the general fan, the casual fan, even the non-casual fan really cares about. That they're not waiting on Tuesday afternoon to wonder, oh my God, what did Raw do last night in the ratings? How many people watched Raw? Did more people watch when Shawn was talking about Bret or when Bret was talking about Shawn?
Right.
Did it spike? Nobody cares. Did you enjoy it? Did you feel some emotion and some passion in that promo? Did you care? If you did, great. It was a great promo. If you didn't, Okay, maybe it wasn't so good. Maybe it should have been shorter. So I think that the inside business of our business, our show should be story driven and talent driven, not business driven. You know what I mean?
I do. I know what you mean. At In Your House, Revenge of the Taker, Shawn is all over the show, fighting off the new Hart Foundation, Bret, Owen, Davey, and now Brian Pillman added to the mix. Now, of course, Bret's knee is going to be a real situation. So with Bret on the shelf, it looks like we're going to pivot to Austin and Michaels, forming an unlikely tag team to take on Owen and Davey over the summer while Bret is trying to heal up. And there's talk that if Bret is healthy enough to wrestle at King of the Ring, it'll be Bret versus Shawn. Did you think, not too long after WrestleMania, we'll call it April, did you think you were really going to get Bret and Shawn at King of the Ring? Or were you suspect of that all along?
I don't know if I want to say I was suspect of it. I just didn't know if... I don't know if it was the right time to do it.
Right.
You didn't get Mania, so why do it at King of the Ring? Hold off till SummerSlam.
I agree.
Hold off to Survivor Series. Let's make them wait even longer for it. Let's build it even more. Get them both healthy, and keep them away.
Around this time, we'll call it May of '97. There's talk in the WCW locker room that gets reported in the Observer, where they're saying they had heard Shawn would never put Bret over clean. Now, of course, we know where that comes from. It comes from Hall and Nash, or maybe Waltman, probably Hall and Nash. But when that makes the Observer, had you guys heard that? Or did you think that was... Okay. So you thought at that point it could just be Meltzer bullshit?
Yes.
Okay. So May 12th, 1997, boy, this is a big show. It's a pivotal moment in this Bret and Shawn saga. The Hart Foundation, which now includes Jim Neidhart, closed the show on Raw. They're all cutting a promo on Shawn Michaels. It goes super long, though, and Bret misses his time cue, as Bret claims, and the show goes off the air before they have the planned finish, which was Bret in the ring in a wheelchair, because, again, he's got a knee injury. But Shawn was supposed to hit the super kick. And, of course, it doesn't happen on the air. So the show goes off the air with Bret just running down Shawn, and Shawn never gives Bret his comeuppance. And I think you're at ringside when this happens. What do you remember in that moment where you know we're live and we're about to go off the air and Bret's just going on and on and on?
No, I wasn't at ringside. I was at Gorilla, and I was livid. Absolutely livid. Because Bret knew his cue. There were people down there giving him the cue. There were people telling him to go. Shawn was telling him to go. We didn't shoot him so that we could tell Shawn, tell him to go. We're not shooting you. So, yeah, it was bad. And, yeah, it was the shits, man. It was the shits. And in that one, I feel that Bret was just like, yeah, I'm gonna wait. And here's the thing, man. If Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, both, without question, the two guys that I could absolutely count on every single time to nail their time to the second. Bret Hart was a guy that I knew would hit his cue at the exact perfect time whenever he was put in that position. Bret didn't fuck up like that. He just didn't. Bret was that good. Bret and Shawn, to me, were the absolute best at that. So it was something else. It was something else, because I know he's getting the cues.
Let's talk about how Shawn received this, because it's been said over the years.
Shawn was pissed. Goddamn, yeah. Shawn was pissed.
And of course he's pissed because the footage does wind up being shown, but it's shown on Shotgun and Superstars. It's not shown on Raw. It's not shown on the big show. I'm sure Shawn's furious. Take us backstage after you guys are off the air. Fans are filing out of the crowd, or maybe you're running a dark match. But Bret, Shawn, Vince, yourself, there has to be some interaction on the other side of that curtain. What's it look like?
No, Shawn just came back and was pissed and, saying, he had the cue. He never got up. He goes, I about kicked him out of the chair. And he goes, I'm trying to be a professional. Now it's Shawn. I'm trying to be a professional here. It was mayhem. And Bret came back. I didn't get the cue. And there was, everybody went their separate ways and it was really no more than that. But, yeah, man, I was pissed. I was livid. I was like, I'm one also too, man, when you don't hit your cues and you don't, things screw up. We're the only one that knows.
Right.
They screwed up.
Right.
The audience doesn't know it. The television audience doesn't know that was a screw up. We put in intentional screw ups and, get people to go, oh, that was a screw up. Just to have fun. But so you can always use that logic too, that okay, we planned it that way. We planned to go off the air that way. And then and here's what happened after we went off the air, and I'll sit there and tell you, yeah, that's how we planned it. It's not, but yeah, it's a shits. That's all I can say, man. It just wasn't good.
Boy, it gets worse before it gets better. The next week they're in Mobile, Alabama, May 19th, another memorable moment. You've talked in the past about this. We're going to hit it again here. Bret and Shawn are maybe getting a little too far into their shoot comments, and there's one comment here that goes way too far. Shawn Michaels does an in-ring promo, and he talks about Bret having some sunny days. Boy, that's probably crossing a line when there's lots of rumor and innuendo inside the wrestling business about this young lady who's very attractive, and Bret has a wife and small kids at home. Less than ideal. Did you have any idea that comment was coming, and what is your reaction and Vince's reaction when that falls out of his mouth?
Nobody had any idea that was coming. And I think it was a spur of the moment thing. Bret didn't even catch it live.
Okay.
Bret had no idea what he said. I don't think Bret knew until the next day when he got home and his wife said something to him.
Yeah.
So totally out of line. Totally out of line. I thought that was, immature. It was wrong. And
does anybody do anything to Shawn? Like, does Vince sit him down and say, all right, we got to find you, man. Something's got to happen.
Well, I don't think Vince heard it or understood it.
I got you. It was so inside that it flew over some heads.
Right.
I got you.
To the few people that, may have whispered that shit, it had to be explained to us afterwards. So anything that has to be explained, it's like, oh. So that wasn't even inside baseball. Inside the inside baseball.
Right.
On Thursday. Inside Thursday. Baseball Thursday.
It's announced here that the King of the Ring match with Bret and Shawn is going to have some weird stipulations. The Hart Foundation is going to be handcuffed around the ring post to each other. And if Bret doesn't beat Shawn in under 10 minutes, Bret will never wrestle in the United States again. So we're promising a big match. We're promising some crazy stipulations. We end the show where Austin beats Neidhart in under 2 minutes. And it's announced that Shawn Michaels is going to be in action next week when he's going to be tagging along with Steve Austin to take on Owen and Davey Boy for the TV titles. That's an interesting pairing. And he comes back in the ring May 25th. Says, I couldn't wait to get back in the ring. I flew all over the place and put on one of my best performances. Early on in the match, I did my backflip off the top, and I did it for a very specific reason. I knew that everyone, including Bret, was saying I faked my knee injury to get out of putting him over at WrestleMania. I wanted to rub it in their face. Every time I heard rumors about me, I made sure I did something to stick it to the guys who were spreading them. So I don't know how much of a rumor it was since, well, Dr. James Andrews said he'd be fine in 4 to 6 weeks, and he proved here just a few months after he could never wrestle again. Not only could he wrestle, he could do a backflip off the top.
Okay, can I tell you the truth?
Please do.
I've never told anybody this before.
Here comes some bullshit. Look at you grinning already. Here we go.
No, I healed Shawn.
Oh, gosh. You laid hands on him?
Oh,
you Mr. Miyagi'd his ass. I thought you were Brother Love gimmicking him. You're saying...
I Mr. Miyagi'd his ass, and I laid hands upon him, and I healed him.
You did heal a guy here in Huntsville, Alabama on Superstars
Damn right I
back
did.
in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Well, that wouldn't fly.
No.
Boy, howdy.
So it's hard to defend his actions here, is it not? I mean, he's alienating himself from everybody by this point, not just Bret, but Vince. I mean, is Vince really pissed with this, or does he know I've got to manage this personality with kid gloves?
Well, Vince managed Shawn how he managed Shawn. And, he did what needed to be done. And, his famous saying, get the match in the ring. And it's our motto, and that's what we did. So, he had his management style, and that's what he did. But, look, the other part of that is Shawn would go out and bust his ass and steal the show. Sometimes it's hard to be mad at that.
Yeah. Well, he'd put on a great performance here. Go out of your way to watch this one. It's kind of a forgotten match. Shawn and Steve win the tag titles from Davey and Owen. A great time Raw match in that era. And it's decided, well, Bret can't actually work, so we need something for Shawn to do. So let him take on his own tag team partner at King of the Ring. And they have an interesting dynamic as tag team partners because they both hate the Hart Foundation, but they don't really like each other and they don't really trust each other. The pay-per-view match at King of the Ring gets 4 stars from Dave Meltzer, even with a DQ ending. So
wow.
Clearly we've got a very talented young man here who maybe has some personal issues and maybe has some emotional issues, but it's supposed to be worth it until what happens next. Quote,